first of all, it's nice to have somebody speaking up for the players, even if perhaps it's a little heavy-handed in the approach that they've outlined there. That it seems like a demand, doesn't it? That we've got this money now, we deserve it. But for so long there has been this gulf, this void in terms of representation of the players' interests. So it's good that there's somebody there to make the case for them, and I guess this is the starting position for them to say, listen, we need to talk about this with the clubs. Don't just assume that you can write us off. You don't just assume that we will take these pay cuts, because these are deals that you agree to, that we've agreed to, and it'll all come down, I'm sure, to how the season looks. If you're placing the same amount of demands on those players, then they deserve the money that they were promised. If there are changes, there are concessions in terms of the number of matches that they're played and what is expected of them, then I'm sure there's negotiations to be done there to make sure that they're getting what is fair and what they deserve, but also that it safeguards the clubs so that their position is secure and long-term, that they have a source of employment from the clubs.
I just think there's a timing issue, a bit like Gary Hetherington's comments on player welfare. At the moment, we're supposed to be giving this united front. We're the sport that, does loads in the community. We're all in this together. There's absolutely no doubt that when we do come back, there needs to be a discussion with the players about their role in coming back. And I think we've seen, even with the NRL, that the players were the first to say, you need to consult us in all of this, that, there needs to be a set of criteria by which we're coming back. And we won't be coming back unless you include us. But they're on the verge of actually going training this week with a view to starting again in 3 weeks. We're nowhere near that at the moment. We won't know until Thursday at the earliest what the restrictions are going to be for at least the next 3 weeks in this country. And there may even be an announcement about phased return and playing with crowds will be right at the end of that. So I'm not sure this was the right time for the players to be saying that, although I agree with Paul that the fact that they have a voice has taken us further down the line of where they need to be.
I'm trying to work out. I've muted Mark, and I'm trying to work out onto a muting now.
No, I think I'm all right. I think I muted myself. Hold on, my IT man's here. Yeah, good. I've sorted it. Thanks. I just IT there. Said switch it off and switch it back on. Sorry, I'm rubbish. I told you I'm rubbish at stuff like this. I'd be interested in what you said there, Paul. I tweeted the same yesterday. Nice to see the Players Association having a bit of bite, but I just think they're backing the wrong horse here. I just think it's come across as overly aggressive in something that didn't need to maybe be aggressive with. I'm pretty sure we had Michael on last week, Michael Carter from Wakefield, and he said, look, if we earn any more money, I'll channel that towards the players. We're not going to profit out of what is happening with the furlough, etc. We're not going to profit from that. I spoke to another chair from another Super League club, and they told me the amount they're going to lose if they have to play behind closed doors is going to be a phenomenal amount. Now, what do? Do they borrow that money from the RFL to cover that? Well, I don't see why they should. I think the players have got to realise, look, they've got to play these games. If they don't play them at all, there'll be no TV money. That'll be the next thing to go, and they won't be getting paid anything. So I think they've got to be really, really careful. And I could see a few players getting kicked out of their club at the end of the season over this and over there. I think that I sense there's been a change in attitude from some players. I think when the pay cut was initially agreed, from what I understand, a lot of the players were fine with it. They didn't have any issue with it. But now all of a sudden they think they're going to get this money back. I think there's going to be a few fallouts, and I think a few people could be doing themselves a disservice. I think they've got to suck it up. And, club staff at the club, they're not getting paid full money. So, I know the players are what we all come to see, but I just think they've got to suck it up a little bit and hopefully in time, next year everything will be all right. It's just no one can have foreseen the circumstances that we're in. I don't think rugby league players get paid enough. I think we all probably would agree on that. But I think on this eventuality, they've just got to suck it up. I don't think any of them are losing too much money. They could be self-employed journalists, couldn't they, Rich?
Yeah, they could be. Apparently, I can now apply to see if I can get some money from the government. So that'd be exciting to see, won't it?
Yeah.
If I have to pay that back as well, but I have to pay tax on it, so that's a bit point.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
not to rub it in, but I got mine last Monday, and it's the best money I've ever earned, I must say.
oh, you did you?
Yeah,
Surely you should,
mate. I'm
surely you should take that T-shirt off then. Have you had that specially made for the show?
Yeah, especially for you.
Good. Have you got a couple for me and Rich?
Yes, I'll get some delivered.
And can you add a very, or just at the beginning of the top?
Absolutely.
We'll podcast for food.
But what Mark was saying, I do agree with that. What I would say is that I think we've got to get there by negotiation and sort of mutual consent, rather than clubs saying, "Listen, you've got, this is what's happening, and you've got to suck it up." I think there does. Obviously, there were discussions prior to agreeing the temporary pay cuts. I think it's got to be a collegiate approach between them. That sounds a bit like Ralph Rimmer, that doesn't it? Sorry about that. But there's got to be.
You mentioned stakeholder, you're off, by the way.
But yeah, we've got to. I think everyone's got to pull together, and I think the players will understand that. I wouldn't confuse the view of the whatever position he is at the GMB for the views of the players themselves. I think that's just an outlining a position of what technically you are owed and what is your right. And I'm sure the players will, like you said, Mark, will look at the situation and think, we can afford to take a bit of a pay cut here, and they will do it. I think, but I think it's the best way to do it is by coming together and talking about it and what's reasonable, rather than taking two extreme positions and saying.
Here's one for you then. It is a counter argument. So you're a club chairman. You've done all your budgets. And obviously, all of a sudden, you've got whatever £500,000 or £1 million hole in your budget. If you go out and borrow that money to pay and then pay the players, and then something happens and you can't then repay the debt, we'd say that owner's been irresponsible, wouldn't we? Let's use Bradford or the latest example. When they didn't pay the player, everyone said, well, they've not been responsible. The owners haven't been responsible. So there is a line, isn't there? And I must put on record, I do think the players are underpaid, and I feel sorry for them. But I think it's affecting that many people. I just think it comes across as crass. And I agree with you, Paul. I actually wonder how many players voice the opinion that has been put out on the article. It is a bit union speak rather than actually the players speaking for themselves, possibly.
Yeah.
I think there's a role of evidence here as well. The important thing is that somebody has to mediate the idea that the 16 million sat in a bank account and anyone can have access to it. The agents need to brief their players. The game at the moment is in perilous danger of not being sustainable. So an influx of money that has conditions attached to it isn't the same as, you can be paid back anything that you've lost. So there's just not a lot of point having this debate at the moment, because we don't know what or if the 2020 season is going to look like, and we don't know what or if the sport is going to look like until we get an idea of what the next television deal is going to be in 2021, because there's already talk of reducing the salary cap maybe in the future, teams going to part-time. That's going to affect the wages of the players. Now is probably not the time to be having that debate. There are issues about how many fans are going to be able to afford season tickets after the end of all this. Will extra money be demanded for streaming of matches? All of that is worth having discussions about behind closed doors. But the whole thing that has got us to where we are, and that is in the public face saying that you can have some money drawn down from the public purse, is the fact that we have given this impression of unity. And we don't really want to break that at the moment, I don't think.
No, it's difficult times, everyone. And I can see why the union would want to come out and give the players their full wages. But this £16 million, which I understand is not to be there for paying players, can't be squandered. And my fear is, because we've seen it too many times, is clubs will get this money, absolutely blow it on unnecessary things. I'm not talking about the wages or infrastructure. And we'll be back in the same position in 6 months' time, because I don't trust anyone, where we'll be back with the begging bowls out, because we've seen it at too many clubs in the real world when the real world was normal. And now we're in an unnormal position for these clubs to not get the begging bowl out.
I think the difference this time is something that Ralph said on his collective call, explaining the rationale behind why we got the money, is there are templates that are submitted to government. So I think if you put on there as a club owner, I'd like to squander some money by buying a new second rower, you ain't going to get the money. It's going to be really closely regulated. It's going to be stipulated what you're using it for. There's going to be terms that you can and can't use it for. So I don't think it will be squandered. And I do think that a lot of it will be used to run the game from the centre, because without Red Hall being able to have access to some funds at the moment, they couldn't survive.